Hello and welcome, literary adventurers. Tonight, we're diving headfirst into one of the most wonderfully bizarre, outrageously funny, and genuinely revolutionary novels ever put to paper. The Life and Opinions of Tristram Shandy. Gentlemen, written by the master of mischief, Laurence Sterne, published in 9 volumes between 1759 and 1767. This book pretends to be the autobiography of a man named Tristram, but here is the magnificent joke. Tristram is so delightfully bad at telling his own life story that he hardly gets to it at all. Instead of a straightforward tale, Sterne gives us a glorious, tangled web of we get stories inside of stories, philosophical rants, hilarious tangents, and comical reflections on everything from love and war to medicine, and the sheer absurdity of being human. This isn't a straight path, my friends. This is a rambling, meandering, and utterly charming journey through the mind of a man who could tell a simple story without getting gloriously, wonderfully lost along the way. So where does Tristram begin his story? At the very asterisk beginning, the moment of his conception. He comically informs us that his parents, Walter and Mrs. Shandy, were interrupted mid-act by his mother asking a simple question about winding the household clock. According to his father's peculiar theories, this tiny, unfortunate distraction doomed poor Tristram to a lifetime of bad luck. Right away, we get the spirit of the book. Chaotic, funny, and deeply human. Tristram's father, Walter Shandy, is a man obsessed with grand, utterly useless ideas. He's read every book and has a complex theory for everything, from the perfect name for a child to the philosophical significance of a nose. He's a brilliant but hopelessly impractical man. In contrast, Tristram's mother is sensible, simple, and perpetually bewildered by her husband's intellectual gymnastics. Their marriage is a constant, gentle comedy of misunderstanding, and it sets the stage for the beautiful chaos to come. In the Shandy household, eccentricity isn't just tolerated. It's the law of the land. The heart of the home is Uncle Toby, Walter's brother, and a retired soldier with a soul as gentle as a lamb and a single, all-consuming obsession: military fortifications. After receiving a rather delicate wound in the groin during a battle, Toby spends his days in the garden, building miniature models of sieges and trenches. He reenacts famous wars on a tiny scale, assisted by his loyal and equally enthusiastic servant, Corporal Trin. Together, Toby and Trin form one of literature's most endearing duos, kind-hearted and completely lost in their hobby. Meanwhile, Walter fills the house with books and endless theories. He firmly believes that a person's name determines their destiny and is horrified by the name Tristram, which he considers cursed. He had his heart set on Trismegistus after a wise ancient philosopher, but thanks to a classic Shandy-style mix-up during the baptism, the poor baby is christened Tristram instead. Walter is utterly convinced this single mistake has ruined his son's life forever. Now, you might think the hero of our story would finally make his grand entrance. But Sterne loves to delay the inevitable. By the time we actually get to Tristram's birth, it's a full-blown comedy of errors. Mrs. Shandy goes into labor, but the local physician, the bumbling Dr. Slop, is late to arrive. He's an arrogant man, armed with newfangled medical instruments that seem designed to cause more harm than good. In one of the book's most famous and outrageous scenes, Tristram's nose is accidentally crushed by Dr. Slop's forceps during the delivery. For Walter Shandy, this is a catastrophe of epic proportions. You see, Walter has a theory that a man's nose is a direct symbol of his character. honor, and potential in life. So, poor Tristram enters the world with a cursed name and a crushed nose born, as his father dramatically declares, ill-fated from the start. But here's where Sterne's true genius kicks in. Instead of sticking to a plot, the novel just wanders. Tristram constantly interrupts his own narrative to tell us side stories, share random thoughts, and ponder philosophical questions. He leaps forwards and backwards in time, speaks directly to us, the readers, and even plays tricks with the book's physical form. At one point, he leaves an entire page blank, so we can imagine a beautiful woman for ourselves. When a beloved character dies, he inserts a completely black page as a symbol of mourning. He even includes a marbled page, just for the fun of it, to amuse and confuse us. Sterne is essentially turning the act of storytelling into a game. He is poking fun at the very idea that a life or a narrative can ever be presented in a neat, orderly line. He reminds us that real life is digressive, it's messy, full of interruptions and accidents, and that maybe, just maybe, its true beauty lies in all that wonderful chaos. Eventually, Tristram does manage to tell us a little about his childhood, and no surprise here, it's just as unlucky as his birth. In another famous incident, a falling window sash lands in a very unfortunate spot, causing him yet another physical injury. True to form, his father Walter turns this personal tragedy into a philosophical debate, consulting ancient books for wisdom on the matter. It's Uncle Toby and Corporal Trim who showed genuine compassion, tenderly caring for the boy. Later, Tristram embarks on a grand tour of Europe. But Sterne's storytelling is so fragmented that the journey becomes less about the places he visits and more about the thoughts and feelings he has along the way. The geography of the mind is far more important than the geography of France or Italy. Amidst all the intellectual absurdity and comic chaos, the tender, beating heart of this novel belongs to Uncle Toby. His profound kindness, innocence, and unwavering good nature make him one of the most beloved characters in all of English literature. Though he's a wounded veteran obsessed with his toy forts, Toby's soul is absolutely pure. This becomes beautifully clear when he falls in love with the widow. The scenes that follow are comic perfection. The widow is charmingly flirtatious and has one burning question on her mind. She desperately wants to know the exact location of Toby's old war wound. But Toby, too innocent and pure-hearted to understand her romantic hints, remains politely oblivious to her advances. Their courtship is a masterpiece of gentle misunderstanding, full of witty innuendo and charm. But it's never cruel. It's just wonderfully, hilariously human. Meanwhile, back at Shandy Hall, Walter continues to bombard his son and everyone else with his books and theories. He is a man who truly believes that everything, from childbirth to a child's education, can be perfected through logic and reason. But Sterne gently and constantly mocks this unwavering faith in systems. For all of Walter's intellectual firepower, he understands very little about actual human emotion and the messiness of real life. It is Uncle Toby's warmth, not Walter's wisdom, that truly gives the Shandy household its heart. Through these wonderful contrasts, intellect versus kindness, complex theories versus simple compassion, Sterne creates a portrait of human folly that is both profoundly funny and deeply compassionate. We laugh at Walter, but we also feel for him. By the time we reach the later volumes, it is crystal clear that Tristram Shandy is really a book about Tristram's life at all. It's a book about the act of storytelling itself. It's about how we all try, and usually fail, to impose some kind of order on the sprawling, messy, unpredictable experience of being alive. Sterne uses every literary trick in the bookhand, invents some new ones like missing chapters, looping sentences, and direct addresses to the reader just to keep us on our toes. He constantly reminds us that we are reading a book, a constructed object, not just passively receiving a story. It's as if Tristram himself is leaning out of the page and saying, "Listen, life can't be told in a straight line. It's a tangle of accidents, thoughts, laughter, and tears, and that's okay." As the final volume draws to a close, we realize that Tristram has barely even made it past his own childhood. He never really tells his full story. But by then, we don't even mind, because the absolute joy of Tristram Shandy isn't in where it's going, but in how it wanders through Walter's wild philosophies, Uncle Toby's miniature battles, Corporal Trem's unwavering loyalty, and our narrator's endless, delightful digressions. Laurence Sterne created something truly revolutionary. He wrote a modern, self-aware novel that was centuries ahead of its time. It's a book about life itself, unpredictable, absurd, and endlessly fascinating. Sterne reminds us that laughter and love are our best shields against the chaos of the world, and that sometimes the interruptions, the little detours from the main path are the very best parts of the journey. So, what is the life and opinions of Tristram Shandy, Gentleman, really about? In a way, it's about everything and nothing. It's about how people think, talk, love, argue, and blunder their way through existence. It's about how stories, just like our own lives, never go exactly according to plan. Tristram's tale is a grand celebration of imperfection, a knowing wink to the reader, and a warm, loving laugh at our human pretensions. It's a beautiful reminder that the journey truly does matter more than the destination. Sterne's playful, experimental style went on to inspire generations of writers, from Virginia Woolf and James Joyce to the postmodernists of today. Even now, this book feels fresh, alive, and joyfully rebellious. It's not just a novel. It's a living conversation filled with humor, humanity, and a whole lot of heart. And so concludes our journey through the life and opinions of Tristram Shandy, Gentleman. A book that refuses to behave, refuses to end neatly, and refuses to ever be forgotten. Because, as Tristram himself might say, digressions, incontestably, are the sunshine. They are the life, the soul of reading. Thank you so much for joining me today. If you enjoyed this literary adventure, please consider liking this video and subscribing for more stories from the world of classic literature. See you next time.